Well, it's taken over a year for me to finally come round to this, but you know, look, everyone does pick up videos, and I don't do them. I haven't really done them. I think I've maybe done like a couple of things that I bought on some channels, maybe some stuff with comics or something like that, but I've never really done the sort of pickup thing, but I love watching the pickup videos. And I always wanted this to be primarily a review channel, but it's kind of expanded to everything film and television based, you know, and we've got top tens and a whole series of different reviews and stuff like that. And I thought, you know, it would actually be quite fun to do occasional pickup videos that are just kind of off the cuff, and you can see the sort of stuff that I'm buying. And yeah, and I also got a bunch of DVDs recently, obviously for like Christmas and for that sort of time of year, you get a lot of goodies, don't you? So I'm going to do a DVD pickup video, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about what's happening with the channel as well as we go along. Alright, okay, so the first DVD that I got fairly recently is Ghostbusters 1 and 2. It's like a sort of double pack, the two films. I got this as a gift at Christmas, and I love Ghostbusters, as you can tell. I did have Ghostbusters 1, didn't tell the person who got me this that I already had it, but I didn't have Ghostbusters 2 on DVD, so I was quite happy with that. And I do kind of... Ghostbusters is a classic, right? It's probably one of the greatest, or at least most unique comedies ever made, and it does have that sort of supernatural element to it. That's why I love it, in a very different way from American Werewolf in London, that has the comedy and horror elements together. It's certainly not really much of a horror film, but obviously with the supernatural element, it sits grounded within that in some way. But Ghostbusters 2, I feel, is a really underrated film. It's not brilliant. I can understand why Bill Murray doesn't like it. There are a lot of things to dislike about it in terms of comparing it to the original film. But if you look at it on its own, I'm quite fond of it. You know, I think there's some nice things in there. I think the problem with it is that it perhaps strayed too far into the realm of fantasy. Now, I know Ghostbusters was fantasy and all that, but I was going to say the Eiffel Tower walking about, the Statue of Liberty walking around, stuff like that, I think maybe was a little bit of a stretch. And I think that was more corresponding to Dan Aykroyd's original vision of what Ghostbusters were going to be, but they didn't have the budget for that. And I think one of the things I do like about it is that at least you've got Winston in the whole film, and he's got a much more sort of fleshed out part. Because in Ghostbusters, as much as I love Winston's character, it does come across as a little bit cynical, that all of a sudden, as if the filmmakers all of a sudden realised that they didn't have anyone that wasn't white in the film, and they just decided that they had to have someone, but Ernie Hudson's brilliant as Winston in the original film anyway, but it's just one of these things where you're kind of like, it's sort of strange the way his character comes in. It doesn't really serve any function. But Ghostbusters 2 has got some really... In fact, the best bit, my favourite bit in the whole film is in the old abandoned underground railway, and... Not underground railway. I'm back to minorities again. The underground or the subway, and when they're shouting and the echoes come out and Winston's, gets a bit of a fright. It's good, it's quite funny. So I do like it. One of my biggest problems is the score. It's like too heroic and bombastic at times, and the updated Ghostbusters theme, I don't like that either. It's really dated now, and too much stuff on Ecto, and there's a lot of stuff not to like, but I do think at its core there's some really funny stuff in there. So that's Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Probably been on far too long about that. What I do like about this set is the DVDs have this sort of hand-drawn sort of feel to them. I have no idea why they have that, because at the end of the day, what's that really got to do with Ghostbusters? But they have that, you know, they look as if they were hand drawn. I kind of like that. But anyway, one thing I do like about this is I think this has got the same like extras that the other Ghostbusters DVD I had. I'm looking at them now. Maybe the other DVD I've got has got more. But what I do like is that it's kind of 50-50. The Ghostbusters 2 one doesn't really have any special features to do with the film, but it does have 2 episodes of the real Ghostbusters, which is a fantastic series, so that's pretty cool. Alright, so that's Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Next up, Tremors. This is a film I'm really fond of. I've wanted to get a copy of it for some time. I just used to have like an old VHS copy, and that happens to me a lot. I had like so many VHS copies. I still have a VHS which I occasionally use because I've got a lot of stuff taped off of television that was just never shown again. And Tremors, actually, to show you how much I love this, I've actually already watched it twice and I only got it the other day, and it's actually in my DVD player, the disc, which is good for a pickup video. You get kind of nice enough little booklet with it, sort of production notes, stuff like that. That's the sort of stuff that I really like, you know. Which way do I go? That's the sort of stuff I really like, is having little production notes, stills, stuff like that. I do love that. Tremors is a sort of B-movie from the early 90s, and it's about this small town in America, and it's while they get terrorized by these sort of underground worms. It's a total creature feature monster movie, but it's fantastic. It's got Kevin Bacon in it, Fred Ward, Finn Carter, Michael Gross, Reba McEntire. I think I know who that is. And it's directed by Ron Underwood. Really, really great fun. That's the main thing with this. And while you might look at some of the creature effects and be a bit sort of like, I love the whole B-movie aesthetic that this film has. It reminds you of the films that were sort of made in the 50s, but while it's got that sort of familiar but happy cliched feel to it, it never gets tired, and yeah, it's just a really, really enjoyable film. I definitely picked that up. I remember watching it, just catching it on TV one night, and I was really blown away by it when I think I was about 12 or something like that. Yeah, great film. The extras, there's a Making of Tremors featurette. I have to say I haven't watched that yet. Production notes, cast and filmmaker notes, you used to get them all the time in DVDs before they started cramming them full of other extras. But some of them can be quite cool, as long as you don't mind reading. Reading. And there's a trailers for Tremors 2, which is quite an underrated film. Not as good as the first one, but it is good. So that is Tremors. Picked that up. Picked up Lost in Translation, directed by Sofia Coppola, starring Bill Murray, Scarlett Johansson. It was the film that introduced everyone to Scarlett Johansson. I love this film. Lost in Translation is just such a fantastic movie. It's arguably Bill Murray's greatest role, I think, in a lot of ways. I think at times he's flirted with playing a similar sort of character in this film, but he really nails it here. And the writing's superb, direction's superb, acting's superb, the cinematography's fantastic. It's set in Tokyo, and it follows two people. It follows a girl who's played by Scarlett Johansson, who has been married for a couple of years, and her husband is a photographer, and he's working in Tokyo, so he leaves her to her own device, and she's kind of lonely and lost in this foreign world, and she doesn't really know anyone, she doesn't know how to communicate with anyone, and she finds real difficulty in connecting with the people around her. At the same time, staying in the same hotel as Bill Murray's character, Bob Harris, who is an older film star, and he's there filming a bunch of adverts, commercials for a Japanese whiskey, where he's also kind of removed away from his family. He's got a wife and kids at home, but it's almost as if he kind of half wants to be away from them. And the two of them are lost in this foreign landscape, and they find one another. And it's all about ships that pass in the night. What if? And it's about, I think it's kind of about how people can love each other and really question what would have happened if something had happened between them without something actually occurring. And I just love it, and it's got a fantastic documentary on it called Lost on Location. Really great. Follows all of the filming of the movie. Fantastic. It's also got some music videos on there, conversation with Bill Murray and Sofia Coppola. Sofia Coppola is the daughter of Francis Ford Coppola, directed the Godfather films, Apocalypse Now, and she does a fantastic job, and I really think Bill Murray should have won the Oscar for this, but he didn't, unfortunately. A couple of extended scenes, but really the lot is worth it for the Lost on Location, especially if you're into filmmaker or filmmaking documentaries, because you really see that they filmed this from a guerrilla perspective, shooting stuff and they didn't have permits, not even knowing if Bill Murray was actually going to play the part. He just sort of turned up and they were like, great. Finally he'd arrived, because they tried to contact him, and apparently he's quite difficult to contact, so they'd heard from someone that he was coming, but they weren't 100% sure. But fantastic movie, one of my favourites, and a lot of people bash it now because I think it was so popular, and then people like to take it apart, but really, I love it, and I think if you're a bit of a hopeless romantic, you'll love it too. Alright, next up I've got An Idiot Abroad. If you don't know what An Idiot Abroad is, it's based on it's a documentary which follows a guy called Carl Pilkington, and he's friends with Ricky Gervais and Steve Merchant, who wrote and directed The Office and The Extras and Life's Too Short. And they met Carl Pilkington when they were working on radio with him, and they just found him to be this exceptionally weird guy who had strange opinions and ideas about how the world worked. So they then made a bunch of podcasts with him, worldwide sensation, downloaded 100 million times, something ridiculous like that. And they thought it would be hilarious to put him, someone who hates being out of his element, likes his creature comforts, into all these strange and wonderful places. They even told them that it was going to be called Carl Pilkington's Seven Wonders, as they showed them the 7 wonders of the world. But then they told him halfway through it, and they actually film it when they tell him, we've decided to call it An Idiot Abroad. It's basically a prank. It's the most expensive prank probably of all time. They send him on all these adventures, but it is fantastic, because you watch so many travel programs and they are so well crafted. This kind of shows you what it's like in some ways to backpack, to backpack, which I have done. You never know what's going to happen to you, and he's put into all these sort of strange situations, and he does hate all of it. That's the thing, he hates all of it. It doesn't help expand who he is or anything like that, but it's just really, really funny. Great. I got a lot of enjoyment out of it. The best episode though is actually the one where he comes back and they talk about his adventures, because that's reminiscent of the podcast, and I love the Ricky Gervais podcast and the Ricky Gervais show. They've got the preview show, which is that's the extra on this, which is worth checking out. That they sort of did that on the run up to the series. A few deleted scenes, photo galleries, not very many special features, but you are getting 2 discs, and you're also getting some stuff which is basically from Carl's diary, which is pretty cool, which has also been sold. I've actually got the is it the Idiot Abroad diary I've got? Yeah, it is. because I'm just a huge fan of everything Carl Pilkington. He's got a unique way of looking at the world. Go and check it out if you haven't. It's hilarious. That's An Idiot Abroad. There's An Idiot Abroad 2 as well. There's a sequel to it, which was also fantastic. Okay, here it is. The Naked Gun Trilogy. My God. Leslie Nielsen, the Zucker brothers, fantastic. If you don't know what the Naked Gun films are, they were based on a television series which was cut down after I think only 5 episodes, called Police Squad, and it starred Leslie Nielsen as Detective Frank Drebin, and it was a spoof parody and just ridiculous humour. If you've seen Airplane, it's reminiscent of that. That's really sort of what I think got Leslie Nielsen involved in that type of genre. And many people would still argue Airplane's the greatest example of that sort of genre. It's not screwball comedy, and it's not really farce either. It's this strange, it sits there in amongst parody, spoof, satire. Probably spoof is the closest thing you can really label it, but I think it's got a lot of elements of different comedy subgenres in it. There was the 3 films. The first one's The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad. The second one is The Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear, and the third one is The Naked Gun 33 1/3, The Final Insult. I would say the second one's the best. I think it's the funniest. It is, you suppose you could say that this is the extension of Peter Sellers' Inspector Clouseau character. There's a lot of that in Frank Drebin, but Leslie Nielsen's just such a fantastic physical comic, but also just his delivery of lines. Priscilla Presley's in it, she's fantastic in it as well. Anna Nicole Smith is in the third film, she actually does a good job. In fact, Fred Ward, that was in Tremors, that we're talking about, is in the third film. The third film is good, it's not quite as good as the other two. It's only an hour and 15 minutes or something like that. I love these films. They're the sorts of films where they put so many different ideas into the scenes that you're watching, so you see things in the background, and every time you watch them back, you catch something new, something else, something different, another gag. There are just so many gags. So even if one gag doesn't work, very quickly it's followed by another one right away which does work. And even the ones that don't work are funny because they don't work, you know. But I just love these films, they're fantastic, and really it's a shame because with the success of the Scary Movie films, although I think they were decent, in some places we then got like disaster movie, epic movie, all these sorts of things which are really poor, really scraping the barrel. These are really finely crafted comedies, great fun. If you've never watched them, check them out, and definitely check out the Police Squad TV series as well. There are commentary tracks on these from the Zucker, is it the Zucker brothers? If I get that wrong, I'm looking, I can't see. Why do I keep thinking it's the Zucker brothers and not? I'm looking, I can't see. Never mind. I know David Zucker's one of them. Maybe there are no Zucker brothers for some strange reason. I thought there were brothers involved in this. So anyway, there are commentaries on this which are really good. I got a loan of this years ago and I listened to them and found them really funny. O.J. Simpson's also in these films, like before all of his controversy. So it's kind of a little bit uncomfortable sometimes watching it from that point of view. But he's actually pretty damn good in it as Nordberg, their sort of sidekick. So anyway, check that out. That's the Naked Gun Trilogy. Just wonderful, hilarious. Or the last one is actually, I haven't watched any of, well, I've seen one of them. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because Callum forced me to get a couple of these from a cash converters where people trade in their DVDs. It was like 99 pence. And it's like action films. You get like 4 films. The Lawnmower Man, which is alright. Grand Theft Auto, which stars Ron Howard. Is it directed by Ron Howard as well? Who Dares Wins, which has got Edward Woodward in it. I think I've seen Who 2. I remember playing the computer game Who Dares Wins 2, which was awesome on the old ZX Spectrum. and Year of the Gun, Sharon Stone and Andrew McCarthy. Who can you trust? I've actually got another one of these with another 4 films, and they look far, far worse than this. But just to let you know that we will be reviewing these on area50bun.com. We will be doing a bunch of reviews of these on this site with me and Callum, and that should be amusing. Some of these cheap sets are worth picking up, because occasionally you will find a gem in amongst them. So anyway, that's some of the DVDs that I've had recently. I actually got this one quite a long time ago, but I just wanted to talk about it anyway. But the other ones I got recently, and I'll do another pickup video if you guys like this. And that's about it. So what have you guys picked up recently? And let me know in the comments below, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye for now.